guys, this is Deb with Four Seasons Crafts. So today we are going to go through the cards from the April 2023 card club. And I apologize, it's been kind of a crazy week, I think, just with the new catalog and all of that. So I am a little behind, so my apologies. So let me go ahead and go through what came in this particular card kit for those of you who may not participate. But these are the instructions for the cards that we're going to make. And what was included in this particular card kit was a pack of the Lovely Layers vellum. So these pre-cut, they're absolutely gorgeous, and we're going to use a couple of those. And then there's some plain ones in here that we're also going to use. You also received a pack of some dots, decorative dots. And these, we didn't really use them a lot in the cards, but they're so colorful and bright. I think they went really well with this particular set. Then you also received a fine tip glue pen. And we're actually going to use this to decorate. Then you also received 12 pieces, and this paper came out in the spring catalog, but it went again beautifully with some of the cards, and I thought we're going to use it in our 3D project. And let me see. I feel like I think that was everything that products that you received in your kit for this particular month. So we're going to go ahead and set those off to the side, and we'll be pulling those in a little bit later. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our first card. So we are going to go ahead and pull in our materials here. And let me move this out of the way. So we are using here, we're going to use some soft sea foam and garden green, and then we're going to use our basic white. So let me go ahead and we'll get these supplies out. Let me show you this stamp set that we are focused on. So we are featuring in this one the Sweet Citrus. So these are the stamps, and you can see those here. So you have one big stamp here that cuts out all of the inside of the fruit, and then you have this piece here, which is one large piece that provides like the rind, and then one full piece of fruit. You got some pretty flowers, some green leaves, and then several sentiments that go really well with this particular set. So very fun. The dies you have, let me show you because I have a couple. You have this die here that cuts out that one big stamped image. Then you have two leaves, and then several to cut out the flowers. And then you have a couple, individual flowers as well. And I will tell you, in putting the kits together and having to do some die cutting, it was awesome to have those doubled dies, because I could stamp, die cut them, and it was so much quicker. So it's a great set for that as well, if you like to have a lot of those intricate elements. All right, so we are going to go ahead and get started. I am going to pull in my piece of scrap white here that I'm going to use to actually stamp the background of our card. And I'm just realized I forgot a mat, so let me grab one real quickly. And that way we don't get our work surface all dirty. I'm using one that actually goes in the Stamparatus, and I know we're all sad that these are no longer available, but you guys can get the regular size 11 by 17 mats, and then just cut them in quarters, and you'll get something very similar. Okay, so I know we're all kind of sad about that one. Okay, and then we're also going to use our well, let me get my foam pad out here as well. And we will use this just so we have that cushion for our actual cards. Okay, here we go. So we're gonna go ahead and take this, and the two colors we're using to make limes is Garden Green and Soft Seafoam. Those are gonna be the two colors here. So we'll go ahead and pull in our, we'll do the Garden Green first. And then we'll take the outside of our fruit here, and we are going to put this on a block. So we're going to just lay that right here. And this is, just so you guys know, find the right, there we go. And this is the E block, I believe. Yep, the E block there. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and stamp. Now, for this particular one, I really don't need the large or the piece of whole fruit. I just want the rinds here. So I'm gonna just stamp, leaving that particular element off the ink pad. There we go. And I'm just gonna make sure I got it inked up well. And then I'm just going to stamp on my paper a couple different times here. And I really inked this pad up, so I've got to be a little cautious there. And then just always double check, because you want to make sure you don't accidentally, there we go. You don't accidentally get this a little portion and then you press down, because you might end up getting this in the middle of your paper. Of course, I did that probably multiple times as I was making these cards. So, all right, so those are the rinds for our fruit. And now we're going to go ahead, let me wipe that stamp off there, and we will pull in our actual pieces of fruit here now. So we're going to go ahead and take this one off. And we're going to switch colors. We're going to go ahead and move in here to our Soft Seafoam. And I will tell you guys, this one I really, I just realized I don't have a refill for this. I do not know why, but I don't. So we're going to have to make sure we put one on our next order. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and line this up inside each one of those areas. And that's what you get. Isn't that cool? So we're just going to do that one more time. So again, I just line up the fruit. And I will tell you guys, it is not a perfect, I'll show you what I mean. It's not a perfect outline. Like, it's either really, you know, you can get it to where it's kind of the same, but you'll see here there's a little space, and it's meant to be that way, so it looks a little more realistic. So that is our piece of fruit that we need for this particular one. So I'm going to go ahead and close these up. Now, one of the things I did ahead of time was I already also cut or stamped and die cut out one piece of one set of fruit altogether. So again, I used those same two stamps that we just saw, and then I just used this particular die all by itself, and that cut out the actual fruit that we needed. So now we're ready to assemble our card. So we're going to pull in our other pieces here. Uh-oh. Okay, you know what? I made a little smear there. Must have been a little dot or something, but that's okay. We will just cover that up. we will easily cover that up. So what we're going to do first is take this white piece here and we are going to adhere it to our card. All right. So I'm already, because I'm kind of a little late on this one, I've put out the notice for the card club for May. And we're actually going to use the Cheerful Daisies. I am very excited about that. That is such a beautiful stamp set, but I think, again, the color options are tremendous. So I'm looking forward to making some cards with you guys for that one. Okay, again, you can ignore the smudge because it's going to get covered up. And then before we adhere this to our card base, we are going to put a piece of ribbon around this and make a knot. So we're going to just take this around and make a knot over here in the corner. Oops, get this so it's not twisted. And we'll go one more time around. I always try to give you guys just a little bit of extra ribbon as well. So you might find that you have quite a bit on some of these strands that you get in your kit. But then you could use those to make other cards or add a little bit of twine. Or I'm sorry, a little bit of ribbon on the two corners there. All right, so again, we're just adding a little knot there. I want it to go just maybe slightly over, just a bit. So we'll just move that. There we go. And I want to cover up the seam right there too. All right, so now we're gonna trim this up. Trim off the edges. And I probably should get this to line up just a little bit better. Oops, there we go. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add our pieces of fruit. One of the other things that you got in your kit, you find them. I had them here somewhere. All right, let me just double check. Okay, I have some extras right here. Is you also got a couple leaves here. Okay, so we got to layer this. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put our lime right here. Okay, and on the top of our lime, we want a couple little leaves just to stick out right there. So we are going to just add a little bit of adhesive. Oops, sorry, right there, I'm off camera a little bit. All right, there we go. We're going to add a little bit of adhesive. And then we'll add a little bit more on the back. And we will just plop that right there on our card. Now we're going to take this particular piece and we are going to put it up on dimensionals. Now before we, well, let's go ahead. We'll put this up on dimensionals and then we'll finish this out and then we'll adhere it to our card base. Now here, I probably am going to go ahead and put the dimensionals on both sides here so that I can ensure that it doesn't actually sit on top of the ribbon, the dimensionals, because you don't want that shifting. You actually want it to stay put. So there we go. We'll put it right like that. And then we're going to take this piece and put it right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of glue here, and then I'm going to add some dimensionals on the far side. And that way I get a nice look, because this we want to adhere on the flat and we don't want the dimensionals on top here. Otherwise our fruit will lay a little crooked. So just a little tip there. And again, same thing applies. We want to make sure our dimensionals are not sitting on the ribbon there. All right. You don't use this piece of fruit. You may have it in your kit, and I just added it in case you wanted to include it. You could put it on the inside if you would like, but in this case, I didn't do that. Okay, now what we're going to do is we are going to adhere this to our card base, and then we'll add our sentiments, and we will be all done with our first card. And we'll just adhere this. I love these color greens together. Really does look very fresh. All right. Now I went ahead, grab a greeting. I went ahead and stamped the greeting. I used the Enjoy the Sweeter Things in Life, and I stamped it in garden green. And now I'm just going to adhere it right here to the bottom of the card. And we'll just add a little adhesive. And I think I've said this to you guys before. Normally when I do these greetings, and I'm not going to mount them on anything else, I do use the thicker white cardstock. I think that holds a lot better than the thin cardstock when there's nothing behind it. I just think it looks a little bit better. All right, now comes the fun part. So when you do this technique, you're going to want to make sure you give your card plenty of time to dry. But what we're going to do is we are actually going to take this liquid glue, and we are going to add dots around our fruit and then drips down here in the middle to make it look like our fruit is very, almost like kind of sweaty, I guess, so to speak. So let's go ahead and go through and do this. So what we're going to do is where these dots already exist on our fruit, we're just going to take our glue and let me make sure, oops, there we go. There we go. By the way, you guys, this glue has an awesome needle in it, so it does not clog. It is, I will say it is just perfect for that. And then we're going to add just a couple little, like kind of little drips down here. That one doesn't come out very well. And I'm going to add a few more down here. And that is it. That is all we need to do to finish out our card. And I want to show you guys what this looks like on the finished card. So again, it's probably best to let this sit overnight, but hopefully you can see some of the shine there. All right, so I'm going to set this one off to the side, and I'm going to show you what the finished card looks like. So here you can hopefully see those dots. So they're raised, so they really add texture. And I think it's just such a great little way to make your card look a little bit better. So that is card number 1. All right, now we're going to move on to card number 2. And this one, we are going to make our card look like coconuts. So this is a fun card. So here you can see I just stamped and die cut a bunch of different flowers in different colors. So anything that you guys might think looks tropical, but you got cardstock that gave you these different colored flowers. So that's what we're going to use there. And we'll just set those off to the side. And then we needed some coconuts. So again, with that exact same stamp set, I just used Early Espresso ink, and I only stamped the rinds on white paper. And look at that. Isn't it amazing? Just the difference in color from the limes to coconuts. And again, we just used Early Espresso to stamp those out. So I went ahead and stamped and die cut just to make it a little bit faster. And then, of course, Pacific Point is the color here that we're using, along with some Tahitian Tide. So this was, of course, before we, now that we know, that Pacific Point is no longer a color. I'm a little bummed, but there are some pretty blues that I think are in the new annual catalog, so that makes it nice. Okay, we're also going to use one of our vellum, our lovely layer vellum, and it's the one with the circle. So we are going to go ahead and first take our piece of blue cardstock here, and we are going to adhere it to our card here. Oops. And we're just going to layer that right down the middle. So you guys will have to put in the comments if you have this set, or if you're thinking about getting it. Now that I've seen the new annual catalog, there are some sets that I think are going to be absolutely beautiful that match this nice sweet citrus. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to add some adhesive to our vellum. Now we have to be a little careful, right? Because we can see glue on our vellum. So what I'm going to do is, I know I'm going to have something in the middle, and then I know I'm going to have some things on the right, and then in the kind of the lower bottom. So that's all the glue I really need. I just need this to stick enough, and that will give me exactly the coverage that I need, as well as an area for me to cover it up. So again, I'm just going to take my finger along the edges just to get a good seal of that vellum. Now, if you actually want to adhere vellum onto a card, what I suggest you do is you can take your liquid glue and put it on a clear block, and then take a sponge and just dip the one of those like yellow sponges, and then just run it all across the vellum, and then stick it down, or even in the corners, and you will notice it just, you really put it on very lightly, but it'll give you a good stick. Okay, but here we are going to go ahead and cover that whole area up. And by not adhering the sides down, I think it again also gives it a little bit of dimension and texture. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to take the one of our coconuts or pieces that we die cut there with the white center, and we're actually going to stamp our greeting. So one of the greetings here was thanks a bunch. So that's the one. Oops, I get my stamps are not in there. Here we go. So we're going to take the thanks a bunch and stamp that in Pacific Point. So we'll take our Pacific Point ink here, and we're going to stamp it more toward the center right. So we're going to take this and we're going to put it more over toward the right side of the coconut. And there we go. So again, we will have already taken our flowers here, and we already stamped those earlier. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make this the center of our image. Here is our thanks a bunch. So we're going to go ahead and adhere this one with just some regular adhesive. Now, you guys might also find when you adhere something to vellum, it just might take a little bit longer to dry. So just give yourself, enough time to let it sit there just for a few extra seconds to get it to dry. Now we're going to arrange our two other coconuts, and we're going to put those over on this side of our card. Okay, so we're just going to kind of layer those like this. We are going to glue one down and put one up on dimensionals. All right, so we're going to have the top one. We're going to go ahead and adhere it down just like we did the middle. piece. And then this one, we're going to add some dimensionals here. What would we do without dimensionals, right? It's amazing what they add to our cards, right? Okay, let me just make sure it's good. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to take all these flowers that we have and we are just going to start arranging them throughout our card. And I'm just going to adhere them as I go, or I'm going to pop them up on dimensionals. So you want them to be, you want to have a variety. You want some of them to be very just directly on the cardstock, and others you want to go ahead and adhere them right down on your paper. So I'm just, oops, that is a lot of add some twine. So in your packet, you also received some twine like this. So you received 2 colors, and we are going to double those up and put them right on our card. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim off the staple here, and we're going to go ahead and just use this twine in both colors. And this is that set that has all the new in color twines, and I believe it also is in the new catalog. So this is a great set of twine to have. It has, again, so many bright and cheery colors that you can use. So we're going to take this and we're going to tie it into a nice bow. So we're going to use 2 pieces, and we'll do the same here. Yeah, grab this off here. I didn't think I could have just brought the regular, right? All right, there we go. Okay. So you have those 2 pieces of twine, and we are just going to put those together. Make sure I didn't lose too much of that. There we go. So maybe just a little bit of a bigger, you know what? Sorry guys, I'm gonna redo that. I have a short stubby end. So let me grab those and put them together a little bit better. There we go. There we go. My fingers aren't working. So you just layer those together, and then you can get a nice thicker set of twine there. And if you wanted, you could just do one. And we are going to use a glue dot, and we are just going to adhere this right here to the middle of our card. So we'll just take a glue dot and pop that right down in the middle. And there you go. Okay, now for this particular card, the other thing we did was put glue, using that same liquid glue here. If you just put a dot right in the center of each one of your flowers, you get, again, some super nice texture. and just dimension to your card. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to set it down and I'm going to show you the finished one, just because this one has the glue and there's some ribbon really close to it. But here you go. So you guys hopefully can see. And the other place I added was I did that same dotting effect around the coconuts there. So that is it. So that is number 2. So we will, let me make sure I do not put that on the ones. Okay, so now we're going to move on. We're going to do this one next, and then we'll do our last one, and then we have a 3D project. So this one I'm actually going to show you guys how to cut out the fruit. Okay, so this one we're actually going to cut out the fruit. So let's go ahead and bring in our pieces. So I have a couple leaves, and I just need actually 2 of these. And what these are, what I did was I actually put ink on them and then whitewashed, and then put the spritzer of water on them, and went over them a little bit more with some more ink, like dabbed them with some ink, and it almost gave it more of that 3D watercolor look. It was just something different than using flat green. So you can do that. Just take a piece of white cardstock, add some color to it, let it dry, and then use it to do your die cutting, and it just adds a little more texture. So this is the card we're making. So I'm going to go ahead and show it to you in advance, and that's the one we're actually going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and set that off to the side, and we're going to go ahead and fold our card base here. And let me grab the bone folder. There we go. And we are going to need some white cardstock for this one. So I'm going to go ahead and pull in our paper trimmer and get that. So we'll move this off to the side and bring in our paper trimmer. So we're going to need a piece that is 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so 4 inches by 5 1/4. Oops. I just realized I have a little green ink on my, so we'll get rid of that here. Okay. So we'll clean that off. Okay, so we're going to take this and we are going to stamp our fruit, and this time we're making oranges. So again, we're going to start with our clear block and our rinds. Okay. And for this one, we're actually using the same color. So we're going to use Calypso Coral, and we are going to use this not only for the rinds, but also for the inside. So again, we'll stamp these up, and I'm going to try this just directly on the paper here. Oh, you know what? Let's leave that one, and this will be the one that we use. Okay, so again, let me just stamp that up again. All right, awesome. And then we're going to stamp the inside of our fruit. So the other thing is, if you guys were using this stamp set, I would encourage you to cut a bunch of squares or thirds or whatever you want to do from your white cardstock. And you could actually stamp a whole bunch of these and then run them all through your die cutting machine. And then the next time you want to make a card, it's all ready to go. So again, here we go. We're just going to put this right in the middle. of each one, and and just lay that down. There we go. All right, and that will work. Got a little bit of a light touch there. And this, you guys, just so you know, that comes from not having that mat down, which I should have. So, okay, so now for this one, I want to show you how to assemble, because this particular set, stamp set, comes with, or bundle, comes with a folder that is a hybrid folder. So you have this die, and you have the folder. So what you're going to notice is, and I have to find the right setting here, this literally lays like right inside that spot there. So what we're going to do is we want to take our fruit here, and we want to lay it right on our cardstock first. Okay, so we're going to take our die, and we are going to lay this right on the piece of fruit and get it all lined up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take a piece of tape and just lay that right on one portion of that die. Then what I can do is I'm going to lay this over top, and I'm going to find where it clicks. Oops, get it going the right way. And I'm just going to line it up, and you will see it literally kind of clicks into place. And then I can just turn that over. So I'm going to bring that over, and I'm going to use just the base plate, the base, which is number 1, and then a number 4. And I'm just going to set my embossing folder inside. And just remember, always put the the side that is the hinge goes in first, because if you don't, it can sometimes break your embossing folders. So I'm going to go ahead and take this through. Okay, there we go. And we'll just pop that out of the way. Grab our embossing folder. Now when I take this out, all my fruit is now embossed and cut. Let me get that little piece of tape off there. And there you have it. There we are. And we'll bring this back in. And just like that, now we have our nice fruit with for our card. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and start layering. So first we're going to put on this piece of white cardstock. And this is just going to serve as a base. The top of my glue is getting a little gunked up, guys. So I think I'm going to have to, let's just take this baby wipe and we'll kind of wipe that right off. Okay, now we have a piece of designer paper. We're going to go ahead and put that on next. And again, at this point, we're just kind of layering. All right. Then I forgot to do this ahead of time, so we'll have to bring that in one more time. We are going to take a half piece. So for our vellum, it comes in these sheets, and I'm going to take a half a piece of the vellum, and I am actually going to run that through the embossing folder. So one more time, let me move this out of the way. We are just going to emboss. We're just going to bring this in one more time, And we're going to take our embossing folder and just lay this piece of vellum right inside there, pop it back in, and do this one more time. So we'll just run it through very lightly. Now, I will tell you, sometimes it can get a little crinkled. That is perfect. All right, move that out of the way. But this is going to serve as just a super nice background. You're not going to see a lot of the vellum, but you are going to see enough sticking out that's really going to make your card just a little extra special. It's like seeing that little piece of ribbon, you know, on a card. You don't see a lot of it sometimes, just a little bit peeking out, but it makes for a beautiful card. So we're going to pop that right in the center there. And now we're going to add a piece of ribbon. So we have this piece of ribbon that we have in our kit. And what we're going to do is we're just going to do that zigzag back and forth. All right. But before we do, I just want you to cut the two ends at an angle. Doesn't matter what angle. Just cut it at an angle. And then what you're going to do is we're just going to make it. So when you do this, you're just going to want to make it so that one ends up over here, okay? And the other one is up here, all right? And we can do this literally with just using glue dots, because again, there's going to be other things on top that is going to cover up a lot of the ribbon. So I'm just going to take a glue dot here and start it where I want it to kind of peek out first. And then I'm going to add another glue dot right about here and put that down and then let it loop over. And then I'm going to end up with this right here. So again, I'll put kind of a glue dot in the middle. And then I'm going to put another one just down here. Once you get those first couple, the rest will kind of lay right where they need to be. And there you go. Now you could add a piece here, but this is going to pop down anyhow because of our pieces of fruit. So now we're ready to start kind of filling this area in. Now the other thing you're going to have is a couple flowers. Okay, so we're going to add a couple white flowers in here as well. All right, so we're going to start with our bigger orange, and we're just going to add some adhesive, and we're going to pop that right up here in the corner. Then we're going to take one of our leaves here, and we're going to have that pop out right about here. We'll add our slice of orange, and we're going to put a couple dimensionals on the back. And we'll kind of fill that one in right about here. Now we're going to do the same thing right here, and then one more piece right here. And then we're going to add a couple white flowers and another leaf. Okay, so again, for this one, I think we'll put it up on some dimensionals. And we'll put it right here. Now, one thing you guys want to be careful of is just make sure you're filling in the gaps. And then this one here, we'll do the same. Put a couple dimensionals. Kind of get that to stick down. There we go. All right, we're going to take our one other leaf we have here, and We'll again add some adhesive and just kind of tuck that in. So you can just fill in the gaps is what I would suggest. So when you're adding a leaf or a flower, just find a way to fill in a little bit of the gaps. Okay, now what we're gonna do, we have our two flowers here, and one of the things you get is a little dot, and that fills the center of these flowers. We're gonna take that and add some Daffodil Delight to the center of those. So nothing big. If you have a marker, you could easily just take a marker and put that in there too. But again, here, we're just adding that little bit of color to the center of those. And then we will take these and we are going to, again, I think we'll add a dimensional to the back and just pop those wherever you would like. So wherever you would like to see one of those flowers, you can just pop it in here. And I am going to make sure that I kind of take that off of the ribbon there because I want it on the card directly and not sitting on the ribbon. So it gets a little bit more sturdiness there. There we go. And then the same for this one. We'll just add a dimensional to the back of it. Find a place where we want it. And actually, this one I'm going to hold off. I take that back. Because we're going to actually take our sentiment here and we are going to stamp that. So let me grab, and you know, I need a little bit of a thicker piece. So let me take and cut another strip of white here that is 1 inch. Oops. So here we go. We're going to bring in our paper trimmer. And we will cut a piece of 1 inch by 3 inches, I believe. And let me just make sure. Yep. All right. And that will give us our, and we're going to pull this in since we're working on the sentiment. So we are now going to go ahead and stamp our sentiment here. And this one's going to say, sending you a big squeeze. And we, again, will use Calypso Coral to put that in. And we'll just stamp that right in the center there. And actually, you know what? I'm going to use black. Forgot, Memento black. We'll stick to the plan, you guys. Stick to the plan, right? Okay, so we'll just tap it a couple times and put that right in the middle there. There we go. All right. Move that off to the side. Okay, now we're going to take this and we are going to flag the end of this punch, okay, or this this cardstock here. So you're just going to go down the middle and cut 2 ends and get a nice little flagged image. Now, if you have the flag punch, which I do, and I actually used that, I think, when I created the samples, that way you're guaranteed they line up exact. But this looks pretty good. This is going to line up well. And that is going to give us exactly what we want. So there you go. Okay, so we're just going to adhere those together. And then we will pop them up on some dimensionals. So again, we're just going to put that over to the side there. Add this to our front of our card. And we'll add that with some, again, we'll just add a few dimensionals on the back. And then we will add that other flower we have, which I think may be under this mat. That would be hilarious if I did that, but not surprising. Yes. Okay, you guys, there's our flower right on the back of our, all right, so now we're just gonna put that right here, and there you have it. There is our third card. I love it. Okay, so I wanna, again, we take our glue here, and you actually can do a couple different things. So again, we can do those same kind of add, let me just, show you here. Again, we can add a couple little strips of glue, glue. We can dot on the outside edges. And then I'm going to show you also how I actually went to one of these flowers here. And what I did was I actually filled the whole flower. Now you can do this actually before you put it on your card. But if you go very lightly and very gently, you can run your glue all on the outside here of your flower and let it, because it'll kind of, it reminds me of like cookie dough or cookie frosting. When you make that kind of, what is it called? The royal icing. And I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but it's got, oh, there you can kind of see the shine. But when it dries, I'll show you what it will look like. So that is it for that card. Isn't it pretty? And then for this one, hopefully you can see how both those flowers are nice and shiny. Now what I did on these, and I don't know if you can tell it in the camera, but can you see like sparkle? So in last month's kit, so not in the April kit, but in the March kit, everyone got a Wink of Stella as one of their kits. So one of the suggestions was take Wink of Stella, run it over the flower, then take the fine tip glue, and now you get this very shimmery and shiny flower on your card. So anytime you need to kind of spice something up, you can do it that way as well. All right, so there we go. That is that card. Now we have one more. And I'm going to show you the card, I think, first. And then we're going to create it. So this is it. Did you guys see? It looks like a lemonade glass. And it's got all these little like beads of sweat and some like little water drippings across the top. So I just thought it was super fun. Just a very adorable card. And it's kind of got some dimension, if you can see that too here. So that is it. That's what we're going to create next. So we're going to bring in our supplies here that we are going to need for this particular card. So we already have some lemon pieces that we are going to use. We have a piece for our sentiment. This is our straw, just a piece of designer paper. You could use anything with stripes, a solid piece. You can add a straw to anything. And I'm going to show you how to make a glass here with our vellum. So that's going to be kind of fun. All right, so first things first, we are going to need a piece of basic white that we are then going to use a blending brush on. So we are going to take a piece of ink that is, or a piece of ink, a piece of cardstock that's 5 1/4. So we're going to go ahead and cut that 5 1/4 by 4 inches. And this is going to be our card layer. And what we're going to do with this layer is now we are going to run it through, again, our embossing folder. So we will, again, pull this back in. So we can get that nice additional texture on our card. So here we go. So these cards were probably a little more in depth than some of the other ones. So I think next month, or this month, come May, I guess, right? We're going to do a little bit more with the daisies and that beautiful designer series paper. So we are going to be using Daffodil Delight and a blending brush. So I'm going to get out a blending brush here. And this is the mini one, but this is the one right now that I have in yellow. So that's what we're going to use. So remember, when you use your blending brushes, you're just going to roll it in the ink. And then before you put it on your paper, just make sure you kind of rub it over there a little bit. Now this one, I think I'm actually using a little bit of a darker. I may have used So Saffron. So this will be fun. We're going to make it maybe look a little bit, might be a little bit darker than the one, before. But I think I'm kind of liking this color. I don't know. I think that might look kind of cool. All right, so I'm just going to add a little bit around the edges because I don't want anything too, I don't want it to be too stark white. So I think this is going to be pretty. Okay, perfect. You know, guys, I think I used So Saffron on the first one. And so I think I'm liking this darker color better. All right, so here we go. Here is our card base. So we're going to go ahead and fold that down. And let me grab my phone folder again. If I can find it. You know, it's funny. Every time I get through, like, the more cards you get through, the more of a crazy mess you have in front of you. So if I think about it, guys, I might pull the camera up and show you the crazy here. All right, so here we go. So we are going to go ahead and pop this down on our card. Okay. And that will give us our nice card base. Oops. All those little dimensional papers, right? They're everywhere. Okay. Now, I am going to actually just to make sure I give you guys the measurements are all in the instructions, but just to make sure I give you those correct instructions on actually making the glass, I just want to pull that in. So that is what we're going to do now. So we are going to take another piece of that lovely vellum that we have, and let me find our vellum. It is here. It is here. I just had it, right? Isn't that funny, guys? It's like, where did it go? It can't go too far. Okay. Let's see. Oh, there it is, right there in front of me. All right, so you can see there's lots of different patterns. We're just going to use a plain piece of vellum. All right, and what we're going to do is we are going to start out with, and I'm looking at the instructions here. So we are going to cut an inch off the top and the bottom. And this is going to give us our glass right here. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to cut an angle on both sides. So again, we want the top part to be tall. because this will be the bottom then. Okay, so this is going to be in the top, and then this is going to be at a 1/2 inch. Make sure I get that correct. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Okay, so I want, again, this to be, because I want this to be the bottom. So I'm going to put this in here and then get that over to the 1/2 inch mark, which is right there. And then this will go in the center. And I think that gives it,
this top
I think that's going to
here.
give it to me. Okay, so now what we have is we have our pieces of fruit here, and we have these little squares. So what you're going to do is you're just going to kind of ball these up, because what we're going to do is undo them, and we're going to try to lay them inside so it looks like they're going to look like little ice cubes. Now again, you're not really going to see them so much, so that's why I said it's optional, but I thought it was just a fun way to give your card a little bit more depth. All right, so now we're going to go in and take our straw and put this in first, because we are going to be layering things on top. So we're just going to take this, add a little bit of glue more toward the bottom, and we're just going to lay that right down where we want it to be inside of our glass. Now we're going to take one of our lemons and we're just going to lay that on as well. So again, we're just going to adhere this. And actually, we're going to do it this way, guys. We're going to take this larger lemon and you're going to cut it in half. So you're just going to take one of that larger lemon circle, and you are going to cut it in half and then adhere it to the inside area where your glass is going to more or less form. Okay, so we're just going to kind of layer it back and forth on that straw. Then you can take these pieces here, and we're just going to maybe add, I don't know, you don't need to add all of them, but maybe 1 or 2 of them if you want. Again, you're just going to kind of lay them in there. Again, it's more about the texture that you might get underneath than anything. So again, it's not critical. We're not really putting it on the outside. It's more inside, and see what we can get in the way of texture in our glass. Okay, so there we go. We have our glass. We have the items underneath our glass. Now what we're going to do is we are going to add some adhesive just along the edges here. Okay, so just add, and you can use the liquid glue like this, or you could use some of the fine tip glue as well. But you're just going to go along the edge, and we're going to just lay it right there over our glass. And when you do, it doesn't need to be completely flat. You might want to let it pucker up a little bit. And that's what you're going to end up with right there for now. You guys, I don't know. I've got to check my measurements, because this one looks a little bit more, this little glass looks a little bit wider than the one I did before. So I don't know. I might have to take a look at that one. Okay, so now what we have is, now we're going to take a couple of our white flowers here. And I actually stamped these, but in this case, we're just going to layer some of these on top, okay? And we'll grab some rich razzleberry and put a dot in the center. Okay, so now we're going to take the flowers that we have, and we're just going to put a dot in the center and add that. Now we're going to go ahead and stamp our greeting, and then we're going to assemble. So again, we're using Daffodil Delight, and we are gonna stamp "Have a Zesty Birthday." So let's go ahead and get that stamp. Here we go. That is this one here. All right. And again, we'll bring in our foam mat here. Again, when you're dealing with photopolymer, that foam mat just gives you that cushion that you're not getting with the, ooh, that looks a little interesting, doesn't it? I don't know. Let me try that again here. All right, that looks a little better. Okay, I think that is all of our pieces. So we're going to go ahead and finish off our card here and assemble the rest of it, and then I'm going to show you guys again just how to get all that nice what looks kind of like moisture, for lack of a better word, around our card. So for this one here, we're going to go ahead and take this other piece of lemon and have it just kind of stick out here at the bottom of our card. And then this one, we're going to pop up on some dimensionals here. All right. And we're going to put that one down here. And then we're going to adhere this yellow piece to the back of our label here. And I also did use the punch on this one, but on this one I will just go ahead again, since the punch is not here where I'm filming this. Oops. I'll go ahead and add this here. Okay. And we'll just add a little strip of glue. Yeah, guys, I think I might have to go back and look at those measurements for the glass. You know, when you type stuff up and it sounds so good in your head, right? And then you realize, okay, maybe that's not what I meant to say. All right. So I will have to fix that if it's not correct. Oops. All right, here we go. Add a couple dimensionals. So the weather today here, in case anybody, it's a little rainy this morning, but now it's starting to finally warm up. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and just add a couple flowers here to this card. And then we're going to add, and again, these are going to look a little different. The ones that are listed in your kit are ones that you should go ahead and stamp and then die cut. So this is just slightly different. And then we're going to do the same thing, different background here. And we'll put this one toward the bottom and pop it up on a dimensional here. So lots of dimensionals on this project. Now, the other thing you guys will notice is we did not use this lemon for the outside of the card, so I would encourage you to go ahead and use that on the inside. If you went ahead and stamped everything and die cut everything, then you have that nice, you're going to have that available to you. All right, and we are just going to add that flower to the bottom. All right, now for the fun part. We're going to take our liquid glue here, and now to make it get that like kind of little sweaty look, all you guys are going to do is take that glue and just dot it all across. You know, just think about when you have a glass that is kind of wet and how you get those little beads of sweat in certain parts of it. And then of course there's always some across the top. So what I did was I just kind of took the pen and, you know, just more or less made some little lines across the top. And I thought that it adds not only texture, but just kind of, it's really kind of cool what it looks like when it's all dry. So there you go. And the same thing on these flowers. Just take a little bit and give that middle just a little bit of a glossy look. And there you go. And it is done. So those are the 4 cards. Let me bring all of those back in and have you guys see them. Let me go ahead and clear off, and then we're going to do our 3D project, and then we will be done. So this was our first card, or not our first card, but one of the cards we did. And then we did this card here, and then the lemon card. But aren't they pretty? They're just so colorful. I absolutely loved them. I thought they were very, very colorful cards. So I hope you guys enjoyed making those, or are going to enjoy making those for those of you who got the card kit. Okay, let's go ahead and we will pop these up, or put these back, and then we will go ahead and make our 3D project. So I actually gave this away to someone. So we are going to make it. We are going to make another one. So I don't have an example to show you. We're just going to go ahead and make it right here, right now. So we're going to need we don't need our glue. So let me put this away. And while I'm at it, I'm going to show you guys a quick way to close this. So when you are done with it, I encourage you just to make sure there's no glue at the top. And then what you're going to do is take your finger and put it along the pointy side, and then rest the glue bottle down. And then you can just slide that right in there. Hopefully slide it right in. Did I get it? Oh. Let me try that one more time. But it is, I will say, it's not for the impatient. And most of you, it might be easier for you. But if you get that right inside, I think there we go. And then you'll see it just slides right in. You just have to get them lined up. And I find, and again, probably my age, right? I find that if you rest it on your finger, it's a little easier to keep it steady. All right, so the supplies for your box are going to be, you received a piece of cardstock that's 7.5 by 5.5. And then we're going to use some designer series paper that we got extra. So we are going to pick one of our colors that we have here in our kit, and we're going to stick with yellow here. So we're going to use this color that I think goes very nicely with it. And this lemon that we had left over, we're going to use that. All right, so let's go ahead and pull in our paper trimmer, because we're going to need this to actually do our scoring. All right, so we have our piece cut. So on our 5.5 inch side, we are going to score at 3/8. Okay, we're going to score at 3/8. And we are going to score at 1 1/8. Then we're going to score at 4 3/8. And 5 1/8. Now, for those of you guys, you could say I'm going to score at 3/8 and 1 1/8, and then flip your paper and do the same on the other side. So it's a same score line distance on both sides. All right, now on the 7.5 inch side, we are going to score at 2 inches and 2 3/4 inches. And then 4 3/4 and 5 1/2. All right. Now we're going to do a little trimming. And you know what? While I have this out, actually, let me do this because we're going to need a piece of white cardstock. And that piece of white is 1 3/8 by 2 3/8. So we are going to go over to 2 3/8 and then cut it down to 1 3/8. So it's so this might give you an idea, right? That's kind of the size for the front of our box. And then we are going to cut a piece of designer series paper that we are going to use, that is going to be 3 1/8. Oops. Make sure I got this right. We got 3 1/8 by 1 7/8. And then we're going to need a piece of 5/8. So that's going to be right here. And it's the same, 3 1/8. And then we're going to have 2 of those. Okay, so 2 pieces. And then we're going to take a piece that is 1 7/8 by 5/8. So again, I'm going to do 5/8 on this side this time. So again, 5/8 is the line between 1/2 and 3/4. Okay. That helps to get that. All right. And let's see. Then we're going to take, we have one more piece that we're going to need, or that we're going to use, and that is going to be a piece of Daffodil Delight, and that is going to be 1 1/2 by 2 1/2. So we'll go 1 1/2 here by 2 1/2. All right, there we go. Okay, guys, I think we have all of our pieces. So now what we can do is do a little scoring and, or I'm sorry, a little burnishing and a little cutting. So what we're going to do is now we're just going to burnish our box here. So take all of our lines and just run our bone folder over each one of those lines. And this will just make it a little easier for our box to fold when it comes time. Now, sometimes I like to do this, like I like to cut everything first. So it just depends on what you prefer. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our scissors and we are going to cut each one of these pieces completely off, okay? So we're going to take this whole piece off, this whole piece off, And I used to always, and we're going to do it, you know, kind of systematically, okay? So we're going to take those 2 sections at the bottom. And I will say, I do prefer longer nose scissors when I'm doing this as opposed to using snips. I love the snips for the smaller pieces, but just, you know, FYI, I think sometimes it's a little bit easier to do it in sections. Okay, so now what we need to get rid of are these 2 areas right up here. So this one, so on all 4 sides, you're going to get rid of this little tab. So I'm going to get rid of that one, this one, and then we just have to go back through and we are going to do a little bit of angling and cutting down each one of these sides. So again, just a little bit of an angle to create tabs. So cut at an angle, angle, and do that. Okay. All right. You guys are probably like, oh, that is like, that's like way too much cutting. For me, for that little teeny box, it is, but it's so adorable. It really is. It is well worth it, you guys. All right, so now what we're going to do is before we form our box, we are going to want to adhere everything. So we have all these little strips, right? You can almost tell right where they go. This is all, you have the pieces for this, but you just have to decide if you want to do it or not. So you're going to put 2 there. You're going to put 1 over here, 1 over here. I think I may have made this one too. Yep, I did. Watch this. We're going to just take a little bit off of this one. For some reason, I think I measured incorrectly. There we go. All right. So we're going to go ahead and adhere these down. Okay. And now our box is going to fold like this. Okay. So you have to decide on what side you want this piece. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and make this side my top piece here. And then I think the instructions have you putting one on this side too. So I just didn't cut it. So you guys can go back and do that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take our rich razzleberry. And we are going to stamp Thanks a Bunch on our piece of our piece of white cardstock here. And we're just going to stamp that right in the middle. There we go. All right. And now we're going to go ahead and adhere this to this, and then we're going to assemble our box, and we'll put this on last. And you'll see why. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here's our box. So let's go ahead and we are going to go ahead and bring in, so this is how you assemble these two tabs. Basically, you're gluing them both to this side. All right, so this is how we're going to do it. We're just going to pull this tab over, pull this tab over, bring them in, and just adhere. Oops. You're just going to take this side right here of your box and bring it right down. And then see this little flap? If you actually get the two tabs inside your box, you don't want to glue the flap down, but what it will do is it will allow you to kind of fold that all in and make sure that you get a good solid straight line there. Okay, but this is going to remain up. We're not going to glue that down in. Okay, so you have this little flap that looks like that. Okay, so now let's do it again on this side. Again, I'll put it this way, hopefully, to make it a little easier. So I'm going to put a dot of glue here, a dot of glue there, and then I'm going to fold this over, and then just make sure it's nice and straight. And then by pushing this down in, it just gives me a little bit that I can push against while keeping my fingers here to make sure that the box gets nice and adhered, creates nice straight lines there. All right, so then this is how your box is going to open up. And you have this nice little space. It will hold some Ghirardelli chocolates, some couple lip balms, you can put all kinds of things in there. So it's super, super cool. All right, now you have a piece of ribbon, and this is why we don't want to adhere our box down yet, because we wanted to put this piece of ribbon on, and then we will adhere it to our box, the ribbon, and then we will, so what we're going to do is that's where we're going to have it. So this is going to be the piece or the area where we want our ribbon to stay. So I'm just going to take a couple glue dots. Now you could use tear and tape would be good. You could use all kinds of things to kind of keep that ribbon in place there. But I'm just going to take a couple glue dots to bring those down. Oops, and I'll undo this now and put another glue dot right there. And just put that ribbon right over top of it. Oops, sorry, keep taking that off camera. All right, so there we go. Oops. There we go. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put this layer right on top of our lid, and we're going to pop this up on some dimensionals. So again, we'll just put, I think 4 should be enough. You could put 1 in the center if you, just to be safe, right? Just so it doesn't cave in. All right, so now let's layer this on in the center of our box. There we go. And now when we fold it, we can tie this up. Now I always do better when it's like the opposite direction, okay? I don't know why, but the tails of the box seem to go better for me when it's upside down. I think that might have something to do with being left-handed, not sure, but that's what we're running with, right? That's what we'll assume. There we go. So now I have this nice little box. There you go, guys. That is it. Isn't that? It's just so cute. These would make, though, if you think about graduations, birthday parties, weddings, You know, you could do this in black and gold or any color theme if you know someone that's getting married and you're helping them. What a cute little gift. You could get the bride and groom's name on it, or thank you for coming, and put some little sweet treats in there, or chocolates, or if you have anything maybe with their name on it, that would be super cool. But there you go. That is it. That is all there is to it. All right, guys. Oh, we were going to add our lemon. I forgot. So we could put this right here on the outside as well. So let's go ahead and do that since we have no other, oops. Well, we'll put this side, we'll put this corner on. And you can just put this wherever you would like on the bottom of your box. And there you go. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for watching. And I am going to have another video sometime later this week on some fun cards that you can make using the exact same measurements. So 4 different fun folds using only using the same measurements for the cards. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. All right, don't forget, if you are not a subscriber, please subscribe to the channel. And if you would like to be part of Card Club, just visit fourseasonscrafts.com and sign up. There's an option you can send me your name and information and sign up for Card Club. And then that will add you to the mailing list that I send out every single month that you can then go out and actually pay. And we do it by the season. So the season already started with the April card kit. So April, May, June, July, and then in July you get an additional $10 in products. So we've kind of already started that season, but you can still participate in the rest of the card club if you would like. You just wouldn't get the extra product until the next season, which will be fall. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining. Talk to you soon. Bye.